we launched the Learning Health Index. And we had that launch. In fact, it was the 17th of July. And in that session, we said we're going to run a few of these collabs, and they've been very well. Firstly, thanks to you guys for attending. But I think we've had some nice, good, robust conversations as well. So we're looking at some upcoming sessions as well. One on coaching culture, which I think is going to be very, very interesting in terms of not just another coaching conversation. The power of pink, I'll leave that to your imagination for Women's Month. But it is some beautiful research that's come out of Skillsoft as well, which is fabulous. And then we're looking at a session on the Siamese twins, Power BI and storytelling. EOH, I don't know if any of you attended the Knowledge Resources Conference, but it's the most incredible case story of leadership in very, very turbulent, trying times and how they have bounced back. And Omri is going to come on and share that case study. And then talking around some hybrid working and insights there. And then one that I'm particularly excited about, and I'm sure you lady, you might be excited about this as well, is thinking about the metaverse. With if you haven't met the Smart Up team, they're next level in terms of some of the stuff they're thinking about. So we're going to do that. So those are the upcoming sessions. And today is very much a session and a conversation with Skillsoft as we set global insights. It's an absolute privilege and honor and pleasure, Agata, to have you on the session. And I'm so excited. We go back such a long way, and your insights and your just the calmness and the way you present and talk is just fantastic. So super excited to have you on the session today. Thank you for agreeing. And I know Shane had to move mountains to get you on. So Shane, appreciate that. And then and Sarah from LRMG, but enough of me. So Agata, maybe you want to introduce yourself. Shane, if you want to introduce yourself, and then you and Sarah introduce yourselves, and then we'll kick into the session. Please remember the chat, and we do have the robots monitoring the chat. As in, Tanith, how's it? I can see you. Just put a call in. We've got people monitoring the chat, so if you've got questions, please ask them. But Agata, Shane, Sarah, over to you guys.
Absolutely, and I'm happy to start. Thank you so much, Linda, and the entire LRMG team for having me here today. Linda was talking about moving the mountains, but to be honest, there were no mountains at all. Once I got a question from Shane and from the team to participate, it was an absolute no-brainer for me. I truly enjoy working with the company, of course, with LRMG. So my name is Agata Nowakowska, Head of Sales, Area Vice President for Skillsoft here in the region. I have been with the business for over 20 years. Some people say I started when I was 12. And I was here in different roles, and one of these roles was managing a channel, and therefore I used to travel and see the team, and probably also see many of you valued customers of LRMG and Skillsoft combined across these years. So as in my role, I have the privilege of leading the teams here in the region. There are quite a few of those as we continue to grow, but channel business, the reseller business is crucially important to them. So staying close and working closely with our strategic partners, such as LRMG, and also with our customers in the region is hugely important to me. Over these years, I had the privilege of working with many organizations, and I do hope that's the experience I will be able to share with all of you today as well. Feel free to ask difficult questions. As Linda said, I will direct them to Shane and Christina to answer as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Agata.
I think maybe I'll just go next, Omri, and then pass it up to you. I'm looking at many of the names who are attending today. I've met many of you either in person or virtually, so it's great to see you all again. My name is Shane Kerwin. I am the Channel Director for Africa with Skillsoft, and I work for Agata. It's been my privilege to work with Madeline, Serwin, Omri, Linda, and the team for the last 5 years. We are still the #1 channel partner in EMEA, I'm very proud to say. So things are still on the upward trajectory. And it's just a great opportunity to get to speak with so many people today and hopefully answer some interesting questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Shane. Perfect.
Thank you, Shane. Yeah, Shane and Agata were secretly hoping that this would be a face-to-face, but we're not just ready for that yet. Maybe the next one.
Not yet.
Yeah.
We will diarize. I'm Omri, and I'm very excited to be here today with Skillsoft, our partners, but also all of our clients and friends on the call. I was actually supposed to be a techie before I somehow started working for a company that was implementing learning management and talent management technologies. So I had to have a look at my CV because it's been that long, but that was in 2011 when I started at LRMG. So it's been a decade like Agata in different roles, through implementation and support through to consulting, and now looking after our digital learning experiences business. So partnering with our clients and partners to develop and implement and roll out digital learning platforms and experiences for our clients.
Excellent. Wow, I can't believe it's that long. Sarah?
You were my toughest client, Linda.
Good. You needed some toughness.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Sarah. I work closely with Omri in the digital learning experiences business within LRMG. I'm passionate about people development, and collaborating with our clients and co-creating solutions to help them reach their optimal performance. Very excited to be here, and without further ado, looking forward to kicking off the session.
Well, thanks, Sarah, and it's been lovely to just work with you to pull this together as well. I know you've put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it, so big celebrates coming your way. Irv, I'm going to invite you to switch your camera on if you want to, because I'd like you to just maybe between you and Agata just share a little bit of the history of the LRMG Skillsoft partnership. You know, it's one that goes back a long way, and there's context to this, folks. This is not the sales pitch at all. The context to this is partnership, you know, and going through thick and thin, and certainly through, we're going to talk a little bit about pivot skills and that. But so Irv, over to you, maybe just share some of the insights of the history of LRMG Skillsoft.
Thanks, Linda. And it's so wonderful. I mean, it's actually heartwarming, not just wonderful, to see the list of people, the role of the masters of our industry and the captains of our industry in the name list. And it's such an honor to just spend the time with you. I wish we could do this more often. But the Skillsoft partnership goes back, and I checked the first agreements, goes back to, we're in our 20th year, Agata.
Wow, we need champagne.
So the old Netchi relationship and the takeover of Netchi and the merging of those businesses and Skillsoft, LRMG being on the right side of that. It's happened a few times this last 3 months with mergers and acquisitions and convergence in the world. But it's been fantastic, Agata, to not just develop the partnership with you and the team over these years with Tim and Shane, Christina and the team, but to almost feel the relationship is almost more important than what we just call a partnership, because it has been really like we've built a family of like-minded, loving and engaging individuals who all believe in the same thing. We just want to ignite the power and performance of organizations and people. And it's such a cool thing that when we attend conferences and engagements, it's been phenomenal to feel that connection. Mm-hmm. And I suppose that's really, Agata, that, you know, one of the big reasons for us having worked so closely and committed ourselves to the Skillsoft partnership has been the like-mindedness, but also the way you guys have set the benchmark for partnership in the world. So, yeah, you know, for us, it's always been a treat to just spend time with you whenever we got the time. I'm so desperately missing the times together physically.
Likewise.
Yeah. And I know the day, and we were speaking about, Omri and I were reflecting about it. When you mentioned your daughter's 16, I was like, wow, we remember celebrating you were pregnant. And it's amazing. And my daughter just finished her 4th year now. You know, it's a wonderful, wow, super wonderful experience. So Agata, just from our side, Tim and Shane and Christina and Anna and the whole team from Skillsoft, thank you for partnering with us, for choosing us, staying committed and for also, you know, recognizing and awarding us over the years and giving us encouragement and building our self-belief that we can honor your brand and we can take to Africa and we can make it meaningful for our clients here and grow, you know, grow our collective footprint. So just a great deal of gratitude. Thank you.
It means so much to us, Irwin and the team. And you are grateful to us, and I have to say it feels really that we should be thankful and grateful as well. To me, when you speak about the collaboration, it is more a story of the friendship that we were able to develop over these 20+ years, as you said. Obviously, we have specific business objectives and goals to deliver against, but more importantly, these are the relationships that we were able to establish between ourselves, the way we work together, our teams work together, the way we also engage with our customers is hugely important. I know that over these years, LRMG, your team, this entire team continued to inspire us and inspire myself personally as well. And you mentioned the events. We traveled together to so many wonderful events. You have been instrumental as a team across these events. Thinking about our events, you didn't only help us to build them, prepare them, you helped us also educating our partners that we have in the region, because what you continue to do is inspiring. You have also allowed for us to invite some of your customers or our combined customers to speak to our customers at our global events. I remember hosting an MTN together in US at our largest events. I remember traveling to your events as well and speaking at them. So this has been absolutely amazing. And I can honestly say that this is a story of a true partnership, a friendship whereby we learn from each other, we grow together, because as you said about the acquisitions, we've been through a lot together, and that journey was extremely inspiring. So this is for no reason that LRMG has been awarded, as Shane mentioned, with so many amazing awards. Without any doubt, now the #1 partner for us in the region, and the partner that will continue to inspire us not only here in the region but also across the globe. So thank you for that, and thank you to many of you customers of LRMG who have joined today. Yeah, as I said, we are really privileged to have the opportunity to be here today and to work with all of you in Africa.
Yeah, Agata.
Thanks,
Can't wait to
Agata.
share a glass of wine with you soon.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope so too.
And there are quite a few MTN folks on the call as well who were part of that case study. But let's kick in. So Agata, you know, the part of the session today is really around workforce transformation, digital transformation, and really, you know, tapping into yourself and Shane on the trends you're seeing, and then Ahmed said from your side looking at what trends you're seeing. But you sent through a slide deck, Agata, and one of the slides that really stood out and resonated was this one where you said you'd obviously interviewed one of your clients, and they said the new coronavirus pandemic highlighted 2 urgent needs: to be more digital and to be more human. And if you think of that, you know, and the shifts that Skillsoft have gone through, what are you seeing as trending in terms of in-demand skills? What's some of the stuff that's shaping your client conversations, you know, across Europe? Give us an insight into that. And then Sarah, I'm going to lean into you guys to talk a little around South Africa and what you're seeing. And as you guys are talking, I'll put slides up as reference points as well. But Agata, I'll kick in with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for that. I have to say, you know, when you think about us, our industry, and what we do from the organizational development point of view, this last 2.5 years have been interesting, to say at least. So when you think about many organizations out there, and the shift all of these organizations had to make from a nearly 100% office-based to then from one day to another 100% also remote working, and many of these organizations either stayed remote or went to a completely new world, which is more of the hybrid world. So all of that had a significant impact on all of us employees, the way we work, the way we have to adapt, the way we communicate, collaborate with each other, and all of that also impacted on the trends we are seeing, the questions we are receiving from our customers. And I think, Linda, what we did is we spoke about that pivot we had to make as an organization as well, from delivering content to and discussing the breadth and the depth of the catalog. That clear shift to reskilling and upskilling, helping organizations, because all of the organizations across the globe make that significant shift. And what we have to do is we need to be able to help them to have the skills of we need to help them transforming the workforce by equipping the workforce of today with the skills of tomorrow, really. And that's the ongoing conversation we have with all of the customers. When you think about the skills, again, the shift, the power skills, and thank you for sharing that slide. It was Josh Bersin, I believe, who used the phrase of the power skills a couple of years ago. And that's exactly it, being human, listening, collaborating, communicating, being more centric internally and externally, strategic thinking, and all of these skills suddenly became so hugely important for our customers. So we can speak for many hours about that, but that's really what we see a lot. So that's from the individual contributors' point of view, but imagine the impact also on leadership development as well. I remember years ago we were talking about leadership development of 21st century. Whatever we were discussing 5, 6, 8 years ago is no longer valid, of course. Currently, the expectations of the leaders have changed. Leaders became servants. The skills our leaders need to possess also to fit and be able to lead and serve that hybrid workforce, that has changed completely as well. So the scope of the conversations we have with our customers these days have changed completely, and providing these customers and organizations with new shiny digital tools only is no longer sufficient, of course. So we need to make that pivot and be able to serve that as well.
Yeah, fabulous. And I mean, it's interesting you say, 8 years ago, that I remember the leadership of the 21st century. Goodness me, it seems like years ago,
Yeah.
And if you just take a quick glance through this, and I know what you've sent through is based on research you guys have done and what your clients are using. You take a quick glance through these skills. We used to call them soft skills. Yeah. And it's just insane that we call them soft skills, because they're very, very hard skills to practice. Sarah, from your side, I did a little bit of tweaking on, and Sarah, you'll see the slide. It looks slightly different on me, but the topic is exactly the same, and it's around learning hours you guys are seeing people spending in these subject areas in the past 6 months across clients. So there's the hours piece, and then there's the days piece. And I'm keen to hear what you guys are seeing locally, but to be honest with you, these numbers are massive. The question is, are they enough? Is it enough time? So your thoughts, insights from the South Africa perspective.
I see that you've done one of our data visualization courses, Linz, because that looks better than what we see.
Yes, and I need a badge. I need some kind of badge or certificate. I'm reskilling myself,
But thank you to Paul and our value and impact team for being able to pull this data to drive our decisions and to drive our insights. This is something that's become really important for us over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
The value of data-driven decision making in our ability to partner and consult to our customers, and also compare what's happening globally with Skillsoft and other partners, what's happening locally, and what we're seeing. And Irvin and I were chatting about it, is South Africa is not behind, Africa is not behind. We are, if not on par, in some cases ahead from a leadership conversation, from a humanist conversation in Africa, where I think we're leaders around the emotional intelligence and empathy topics. But what we are seeing quite importantly in South Africa is a deliberate bifocal engagement around skills for today, many of which
Yes.
are power skills, leadership skills,
Yeah.
management skills, perform in the moment, but also future ready skills. So we're
Yeah.
talking about future fitness, future fit talent journeys is one of the conversations that we're having, and really assessing the capability that you have in the business with what the organization requires, not in 2 months' time or 3 months' time, but maybe in 3 to 5 years' time. You've got to start those journeys today. Looking at some of the content that Skillsoft has available, it's not, and the partnerships that they've had, it's not a 2-hour course that you're doing on data science. It's a 100-course curriculum with 100 hours of learning, and then a further 30 or 40 hours of virtual practice. That's what you need to do to actually develop a capability within an organization. So we're very much seeing that focus on how do we deliver results today, but stay agile, nimble, and responsive to what our industry is doing and the trends that we're seeing.
And interesting, the trends, you know, and I love this term called software craft. It might be a Paulism, but that's and for me, it will be interesting to see where these things go over the next 6, 12, 9 months, you know, because I think this might shift as well. And Sarah, from your perspective, and I know you and I, when we chatted earlier today, we were briefing, and you guys pulled this slide out saying, well, you know, when are people learning in the day? They're not learning. I mean, it's obvious they're not learning only in office hours. So what's your trend you're seeing here, Sarah? And the other trend that we looked at as well was this, which I find fascinating that you guys are seeing locally. So give us your thoughts there.
Yeah, thanks, Linz. Yeah, and just, you know, to just close off in terms of what Omri was saying around the trending skills areas that we're seeing locally is around the management and leadership aspects. It's not a surprise to us because, you know, given the increase in changes in the working landscape, given the great exploration era that we find ourselves in, we see leaders shifting to being more engaging, more inspirational leaders. And hence that speaks directly to the competitive advantage that organizations need in today's era. And I'll probably ask you to come in here with your famous Jack Welch quote around that competitive advantage before we go into the other trends that Lynn's had up.
I'm always blown away. I'll keep looking back at that quote, and he's probably not relevant. He's probably on the old leadership development philosophy and management development philosophy. But he said, I think it was 15 years ago now, that the ultimate competitive advantage is an organization's ability to learn quickly and translate that learning into action. And it's probably more true today than it has ever been in the past.
True story.
Agree.
And it's
Yes.
20 years ago, by the way.
Thank you.
I used that quote in a business case at Liberty for a virtual learning tool.
Lovely.
And people thought I was daft, I'm sure. And we didn't really have Google then, so I don't even know if they could Google it.
If I could jump in for 1 second.
Go for it, Shane.
There was a question in the chat from Yolanda around how are you differentiating between management and leadership dev, and I just thought I'd address one aspect of it, if I may. Traditionally, and going back to the Jack Welch days, maybe leaders used to just manage in a silo. They would manage and lead the people below them, so it was relatively simple in terms of these are the individuals I manage. Now we're seeing a much greater cross-pollination of leaders. They're having to work with other leaders, other managers. Their teams are having to work with other people. So that's one of the key areas where we see a very distinct difference. It may be easy to lead your own team, but you now also have to be a leader that is enabled and reskilled and refueled to support other people's reportees and to garner that trend. So that's certainly one of the areas where we're seeing a very distinct difference.
And you know what, more and more often, and actually I love that. Also, I continue to hear leaders referring to what they do about serving their teams. So I serve my team, I serve this and this region. I love that phrase because in the end, this is exactly what we are doing. So taking that leadership skill to the next level by serving our people, making sure that whatever we do, obviously we are serving our business, but we are also serving our teams, making sure that they they can grow, they can develop, and they become successful. So that's the elevation to me.
Yeah, fabulous. Thanks. And thanks for the question, Yolanda. I hope it's been answered. Sarah, any comments from your side?
I posted a little comment in the chats. What we're seeing, management is important, and we're not allowed to talk about MBAs in LRMG, but I remember the days of POLC, the planning, organizing, leading, and control. But really, leadership has become that human element. It's about leading people. It's about inspiring, motivating, influencing, persuading, sharing vision. Management is about the stuff that we need to get done, setting goals and targets and things.
I love that. Yeah, nice way to put that. Exactly.
And I think this is a perfect opportunity to, that you mentioned, Park. I hope Letitia and the Sassel team are online, but they've done such an amazing job of creating a digital program using those blended concepts, and they call it principles of management on their learning digital learning platform. So hopefully we get the opportunity to showcase that.
Well, Letitia, challenge out there, hey? You next on a panel. But Sarah, let's maybe go back to the leadership management piece. And I think what you're starting to see in the stats and the data, also, if you have a look here, you know, traditionally, you know, we learned in work hours kind of thing, you know, whereas now work is blurring, and maybe that's also the shift to, you know, leaders allowing people. I'll never forget, we weren't allowed to learn after hours, you know, in the early days of working, because it just wasn't done. Whereas now, you know, leaders and managers, or leaders are managing people in different ways, that they're encouraging this. So quick comments on this, because it's very interesting to see that, you know, the trend, a lot of learning happening in the daytime, but also happening, you know, 4, 5, 6 in the morning, and then in the evenings. What's the kind of conversation going on?
Yeah, Linz, and also just to say that we also saw previously to this, learning also happened in those travel hours to work and from work as well.
Yes.
And now we're seeing the true integration of learning in the flow of work, because you're using tools that are integrated in your operational systems, in MS Teams, in your browser. Get your browser plugins. So we're seeing that learning sort of through, and this is just an example from one client space, but we find this trend in majority of the spaces.
Yeah.
You remember years ago we used to speak about formal, informal, 30-70, then 10-20-70, etc. Nowadays, to your point, Sarah, we speak about that learning in the flow of work. It is so important to all of us. In fact, we are trying to take that to the next level by saying that it should be learning in the flow of life. Whatever you do, wherever you are, you can learn. I love reading, and I often do not have enough time to read. So my favorite time of a day or a week to read is actually listening to the books, and I do that when I walk my dog for a couple of hours on Saturday and Sunday. I am a heavy user of the mobile app with all of the books in there, so that there are so many different ways how we can learn, as long as we enable these opportunities to our learners, and also understand that there are different learning styles. Some people will like myself, listening or reading. Some others will be more of the formal absorbers of learning. So that's something we need to appreciate, and also make sure our teams, our learners, our colleagues have access to, I suppose. And whichever way is that learning happens, that's also a good way, because we will continue to learn.
Yeah, and it's interesting.
About 5 years ago, Linz, that the person said we had 24 minutes a week. That's probably reduced to 5 minutes now.
Well, I think it's
people are busy during the day, back-to-back virtual meetings. You only find time to step back in the evenings often. That's me over there.
Sessions like this is learning anyway, you know, and that's the thing. I think that's the big difference. Another stat that was interesting that you guys pulled out from the essay was people doing assigned learning versus voluntary learning, you know, and I mean, it's a clear indication that people are really taking ownership of careers, taking ownership of their own reskilling, and in a place where they are learning what they believe they need, you know, and it's a perfect, this is a perfect point, Agata, to pivot into a conversation that we had around the Skillsoft pivot, you know, and I know you've got a fabulous case study, but things have shifted, you know, and people that know me know I'm on this mission that L&D have shifted, need to shift as well, you know. So take us through some of the transformational components of the Skillsoft shift and some of the roles that you saw shifting, some of the, you know, the activities you saw shifting. And I'll bring up the RICO slides if you want to talk to them as well as part of that. But again, you know, it's we think the client needs to shift, but in fact, everybody needs to shift. So
absolutely. Everybody has to shift, and within Skillsoft over these most recent years, we worked very hard on bringing our business together, because, as you know, we continue to innovate, and we do that in different ways, obviously by organic investment in innovation, but also as a result of the acquisition. So bringing all of these businesses together was our focus, and then making sure that whatever we do, we focus on one goal, and that goal is, as I mentioned, helping organizations to transform. So we moved away from the conversations about the catalogs, the breadth and the depth of the content. Having access to thousands of assets is no longer that relevant, even if our learners like the variety of content. It is really being able to help our customers, organizations in that reskilling and upskilling approach, because that's massively important to any customer these days. And I know we spoke about it, but what we would often do is look also with our customers for the initiatives that we could support. And one of the ways to do that is look at the career website. Sometimes learning and development teams are a little distant from this approach. This would be talent acquisition teams, talent mobility teams who are responsible for that part. But once we look at the career websites, we can see that there are thousands, often thousands of roles available. And any business these days struggle, of course, identifying that talent. So that's one challenge. The second challenge is the cost. Based on different reports available out there and based on our own research, we know that, and perhaps that cost could be somewhat different for you in Africa, but when we have these conversations, we refer to approximately $1,600. This is the investment an organization needs to make to reskill and upskill somebody, whereas to find that person externally and to onboard that person, the time needed for that person to be productive, it takes often over $50,000. So we continue to work very closely with many organizations, helping them to address exactly that challenge, external talent, reskilling and upskilling. And RICO, as you mentioned, is one of the great examples. Everybody knows RICO, and you may know RICO as that, let's say, legacy printing company. Yes, and what we have been able to do by working closely with them, we help them to shift from being exactly that printing organization to becoming a business services organization. They had hundreds, and I'm talking now about our work specifically here in EMEA with the team. They had hundreds of printer engineers. You may remember them visiting the offices, installing, repairing printers, and what they noticed already before the pandemic is that their workload was decreasing between 20 to 30% year on year. And obviously, pandemic accelerated that even further. So what they have done is they enabled that part of the workforce by offering them further development initiatives, by offering them the jobs of the future. So these are very, very structured blended learning programs whereby we guide them, and I think only you were talking about that. We guide them step by step from them completing specific courses, from them being exposed to our subject matter experts, for them to become at some point after that journey, for example, a data analyst, a data scientist, a cloud expert, and Microsoft Azure expert. So with this last year, we helped them reskilling 800 people here. The project was as successful that currently they are expanding that initiative globally. A very similar approach we are applying with them now, discussing with them now in terms of leadership development. Because of that change, many of them will become leaders for the first time. So we are talking to them about the first time leadership initiatives, journeys. We are talking to them about the leadership skills they require for them to become successful with that transformation as well. So that's an exciting journey we have embarked on with Rico, and there are many alike conversations we have with our customers in the region as well.
Sure, and I mean to go through that process those reskilling stories are amazing, and there's lots of them around. But it's the mapping of, and when I looked at the slides, it's the L&D, how the L&D folks show up. And what I really loved was, how you actually putting in the accreditations, the new role, the positive, beautiful words around positive learning experience, weekly drop-in clinics. That's the type of stuff, but that's the shift. If you're doing that internally in your organization and then doing it with your clients, it's going to massively change, how learning is seen and adopted. I can see your hand up, and I was going to ask you for comments, so go ahead.
Thanks. I think the most important thing for me on this slide, and strange to say in a conversation with a digital learning partner, is that the e-learning is not enough. You can have the best content in the world unless you've got that capability in the business and through your partnerships to socialize and apply what you've learned such that it leads to organizational value and impact, not just a completion or certificate for the individual. You're going nowhere.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So do you want to add anything to this? I know you deeply engaged with some of the clients, Sassel and that, on some of these L&D journeys. What's your perspective?
Yeah, I think if you look at L&D themselves, or ourselves as L&D professionals, we've realized the opportunity or the need to be more integrated. So, L&D doesn't operate on its own in a silo, and the need to partner and become trusted advisors to business and be more proactive in being that trusted advising by helping them to look at what are the current challenges, how are we equipping our workforce in terms of optimally performing for now, as Omri mentioned, and then also in terms of staying ahead of those industry trends. What skills are we going to need in the future? And that helps us to stay ahead of our competitors. And that's the ask of L&D today.
Yeah, and it talks to you talked about your partnership, Agata, with Burning Glass. And I think it might have got missed, so I'm going to repeat what you said, where you're working on clients' career websites and you're seeing the roles they are looking for. And the shift of a $1,600 expense versus a $50,000 expense to build those skills, that's the type of partnership from an L&D perspective that's needed, But if you also look at it in the context of the work you're doing with Burning Glass and the enterprise critical technical skills versus future critical functional skills, this is the stuff it's not even it's on trend, but it's actually happening in reality now, And are you seeing, based on this, where are clients at the moment? Are they looking at this in isolation? Are they looking at it? You talk about career journeys, you talk about pathways. How are you typically seeing this play out as a solution into the client space?
No, that's thank you, Linda. So first of all, I think also when we were preparing for these conversations, we spoke about the work that we are doing, of course, with the Burning Glass, but ahead of all of that is our own, let's say, intelligence, the data that we have based on our, based on 90 million learners that we have across our systems.
A lot of them, eh?
So that's, we have a lot of data. Plus, of course, I know that we were also referring to the collaboration we have as a result of us being a member of Skills Link Alliance and World Economic Forum. So we observe all of these terms very carefully. That's exactly the slide. So I love this slide. When you look at this slide, you can see top roles, and all of these roles, most of them are related to, as we say, tech and dev, technology and developer, one way or another. I remember years ago speaking to one of the CEOs here in Europe, one of the leading European banks, and he said, we are a technology company with the banking license, and he said that like 10 years ago. This is something that initiated transformation across all of the banks also in Europe. Currently, every single organization is a technology company. Every business is a technology business. So that's not strange. That's not strange to see that top 10 roles, they are the tech roles. But when you look at the skills, many of these skills also across the tech roles, they are actually the power skills we need to have. So obviously that's important. This combined with the work that we do with Burning Glass and as also our own data, that informs our roadmap, that also informs what are the learning journeys, as Omri said, and you said that we need to have in place. And currently we have over 100 of those. And what they really do is they take an employee, a learner from one place in the career to another place, and our customers approach it in many different ways. They are off the shelf, ready to be used, but often they also need to be customized. Often what we have to do is include also, as you can do in Africa yourself, we need to include that pastoral care, that mentor and coach that will guide our learners through the process step by step, because as Omri said, having access to the shiny new to digital tools only often is not enough. So the journeys are there.
It's just me.
We've lost Agata now.
Okay.
I wanted to just add, I've popped into the
Maybe
chat.
add
And I
on,
thought Agata was getting there.
Go for it.
Is that it's very interesting. We do find a trend amongst even those technical implementations for IT teams under the leadership of the CIO, how popular those human skills and power skills are, because these are typically expert specialist technologists that get promoted into leadership positions, and they want to know how to communicate better. They know how to have a performance conversation. They want to know how to give feedback, and it's lovely to see that opportunity available.
Yes, and I mean, it goes to some of the slides, and I'm happy to share the slide deck, you know, the core skills here with the transformation pieces. This coupled with the technical skills, coupled with reskilling, really all starts to make a lot of sense. I'm just conscious of time, and we've probably got about 2 minutes left. So, Sarah, from your side, are you guys seeing, and we're talking about graduates and new starters, career shifts, what kind of skill sets are you seeing those folks really wanting to embrace? And from a trend perspective, what are you seeing?
I think the one thing that's probably overwhelming is how impatient young people are with career advancement.
And it was a little bit of a loaded question because we're different here in South Africa, I think. So, yeah. Yeah,
it's really, there's a core technical skill, but there's an impatience to have strategic conversations, to have to manage a team, to lead in your practice, and so it is, you know, no lack of confidence, you know, and no lack of human skills, which is different to what we'd expected. We expected millennials and Gen Zs to come into the workplace without those interpersonal skills. But we're finding that in spades, but just wanting credentialization as well.
Yes.
That certification is still very important. I want some stuff to put on my CV, but then I want authority, and I want power in a sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe to Yolanda's point earlier in the chat, you know, people go through a management course and think they can be a manager, and then suddenly they're a manager. You know, go through a leadership course and suddenly you're a leader, and it's not really that case. You know, so I think there's quite a lot in that the graduates and new starters, the thinking around access to learning versus doing, etc. So sure, it's gone by very quickly, and I'm kind of feeling like we probably have only just scratched the surface of some of the conversations. And Agata, Shane, to you guys, thank you so much. Sarah, to you, thank you. I maybe want to just wrap up if you just do a quick flyover, half a minute each, on just your thoughts on where we're going in the learning space, you know. And I know Skillsoft put a lot of money into R&D and research. Where are we going? What's coming downstream?
That's an amazing question. So we spoke about Aspire journeys, or the journeys. I think the next big thing for us already available is the career journeys, which is really the next level of everything we have been discussing. Whilst for many years we were talking about digital learning, currently we, as a result of the most recent acquisitions and the executive coaching and also ILT, VILT and everything else, we can combine all of that beautifully to one great solution for our customers. So that's really the next big thing for us. And obviously, Percipio, we continue to evolve our system, our learning experience system. We continue to win awards with the system for us, but that's the next big thing as well. So a lot to come from us in the months to come.
No, brilliant, thanks, Agata. And the career journeys, I think, is going to be on trend. Shane?
I just responded to a quick message there, Linda, to Willem, who I have spoken to before. So hello, Will. It goes to the point that Skillsoft are continually updating our materials because the demand is so high and the bar is set so high, Linda. I think what we're continually finding is that, as Omri indicated, the younger people who are joining the workforce, they want a little bit of everything. They want the certification, they want the accreditation, but they want the authority then to move forward with the knowledge. So it really is a cross combination. And to the point that I just answered to Willem, he was asking, you know, how about a curated journey or curriculums specific for learning and development professionals? Well, we have it because it was one thing telling everybody else what they should be doing. And then we suddenly realized, you know, several months back, in fact, last year, that learning and development of all the people need that pathway. They need those journeys so that they can help and sponsor and support all of the other units that they support. So, Willem, very happy to show it to you.
We'll look out for it.